this goes rough. A chalk. You gotta put respect on the chalks that we've seen and the amount of damage and ability they've been able to put out. Feeling confident enough with this draft, they're gonna go into game number 1. Devvolopers versus uMaD. Yeah, this yeah. I mean, I feel like you get a pick or two and this runs away with it, but you can't put enough pressure on. Like, Vulcan can, given the opportunity, have an obscene amount of pressure. That's just the unfortunate part of the draft. On her, instead of going this Cowl Dom, I actually went for Gilded Dom. He's going to have 0 sustain in that kit. He gets poked out whatsoever. He's going to be invaluable here for the developers. Possible buff pressure. I would like to make note of the simple fact this chalk is going Jotuns first. That is not a defense chalk. And a blink for this Wukong. They're looking at the chalk, given his build, but it can easily be turned on. You got to be real careful here. The amount of damage he's turning out is silly. On her pulling. He's trying to do his best to bait it. Good old mage wave pressure with his AoE damage. The Wukong doesn't have blink up. Red's going to be spawning directly after this wave, so it might just turn into a neutral buff for neutral buff angle. But this Wukong is getting poked out pretty substantially. You gotta be real careful. He does hit 5. Jing immediately goes into ult, but beats by the Kabrakan. Now they have their response. Are they able to find a counter pick? Instead, willing to give up beats for ult and look for a potential red buff. The on her goes to purple, so they are going to look to 50-50 this. Kabrakan with a massive ult, and both tanks are stuck here. Unfortunately, not able to secure the second, but a first blood and red by this on her is able to secure purple and Johnson. The amount of damage that's going to come from that axe once he gets Jotuns is going to make me cry. So this Wukong goes tier 1 earring, or mystical earring for the MP5, and then it's going to go into Rune Forge, obviously for the damage we know and love. Especially when we start associating Rune Forge with the Wukong. Chesters are up. Neither team quite aware yet. A proximity ward. This is an interesting buy. It just tells me they want to look for a fight. This chalk slow, drop a proximity ward, and really be able to lock a target down. We're able to stop the Jing's back. On her getting fairly choked out, or poked out, choked out too. But this only gilded Dom, definitely a little rough. Chalk drops ult, but a double ult. The Vulcan just not able to connect. I don't know if it would have had full kill potential anyways, considering the Wukong did have ult up. So all three ults by developers expended, and Wukong Jing able to survive the dive. The Chalk Axe is doing more than a Vulcan cast. That's tears. Red spawning. Uncontested. Okay, the Wukong. Dash gets caught. Should be an easily forced ult. No ults up here for developers. It should just be a net win. You get red, you get Wukong ult, and be able to walk away here. Purple spawning shortly. Chesters are now recognized by both teams. On her continually poked out by either Chalk Axe or Meatball. Purple's up. Developers significantly healthier here, and all ults to their name. My Wukong ult is down. Are they able to catch this Wukong? He won't have that same survivability, and easily secured. It's a little unfortunate. We weren't hyper aware of that. He did have Blink. Definitely needed a play like his life was the one in danger. Red stolen away, so a pick and a stolen buff here for developers. Starting to build some pressure with this Vulcan. We do get Runeforge online for this Wukong. Purple being pulled by the Vulcan with turret. Chalk has to be careful. Instead, it's the on her Jing Chen who have to be careful. I can only imagine if that Chalk had ult to be able to put forth the damage we know and love from Warriors. Already doing a substantial amount for developers. This is a very interesting with this Chalk build. Look at the damage he's putting out. He's gonna go what? Jotuns into Glat, possibly some more damage. The absurdness of how he's doing more pressure and damage than this Vulcan. The Vulcan just farming. It's kind of obscene. Ooh. I was afraid of that, but I was trying to get past that. Red buff spawning. Developer's the one pulling with turret. Runeforge procced on the Cabrakan. Seems to be most of the target. Red is easily secured in the meantime with this Chalk slow. Turret almost going to act like a fourth man here for developers, looking for buff pressure. Johnson spawning in. Pretty shortly, especially once you have the second relics, developers can easily look for a bull pull with this turret. Johnson being pinged out. Wukong gets a blink into Tiger Stun Runeforge on this Vulcan. But a little bit of different page considering the Jing Chen was wrapping the blue. Wukong forced to kite a little awkwardly. Had to drop Heavenly. Developers were trying to catch that. Unfortunately, really good peel by this Jing Chen to make sure the Chalk wasn't able to chase that down. But ultimately, a blue buff stole it stolen. And the Jing Chen ult utilized defensively, thinking developers are going to push that further. So actually a big net win here for developers. Johnson being secured here by Bracken. Purple spawning shortly. It's going to be some fairly big spikes on these backs for developers. Glass shield, mid guard. I'm assuming it's going to be Book of Thoth. Yeah, this damage is a little rough. A good bludgeon steal by Wukong to steal that away from developers. Just trying to make sure that we're doing our very best to mitigate some of the loss here. It's a big spike. These are all second relics. Shortly second relic for this chalk. Assuming it should be off this, right? Hopefully. Yeah. That's going to be a second relic. It's a 500 pot. They want to look for this pressure. They have Book of Thoth, 500. They hit the second relic spikes. You have a big lead here. You have a window. Second item spikes. Second relics. This is the moment if any 500 pot popped by this Vulcan. They have the damage to come forth. They connect Vulcan on this Wukong. Wukong doesn't have ult to really re-engage. This Anher is getting wrapped on. A Fire Blink hits both ult on the Jing Chen and the Anher. Jing just doing his very best to survive here. Unfortunately, getting caught by the turret backfire from Dev on this Vulcan. To secure a big pick. They have a 30-second power play, and I'm assuming they're going to pass straight to Bull with 500 pot ticking. Chalk getting a fair amount of poke on this Anher, while his other two teammates are pulling Bull. Look at the shred on this. I'm just going to take a quick peek at why Vulcan is just silly. This tank able to just sit here and hold this for turret. Developer secure Bull, and immediately Wukong forced into ult. Vulcan has ult for this landing. Orange shard pot for the cooldown, hoping for a dash here, and able to find it, but Bull went in favor of the developers. They can chase this further. Chalk's backing should signal the full back here for developers, looking for some item spikes. Instead, two members strong stepping forward. Knowing that Wukong doesn't have ult to the ability to engage, they're feeling confident they can step up. Jing should have ult shortly, but gonna get poked out pretty substantially here. Chalk's wrapping. There's the Chalk. Not able to quite find the damage on her, but did force him back. So T1 goes in favor of the developers. Jing goes into ult and a Chalk ult in kind. This is crazy. He's still at top. The damage he is doing to this Anher is substantial. Him creating that separation, letting this Vulcan free cast. Jing Chen is trapped in a Fire Blink just to burn the Jing Chen, but does it cost him his very life? It does. And Chalk goes down, a 1-for-1 trade. At this point in the game, when you don't have a kill on the board, you're going to take that small victory. If anything, for uMaD, you put that kill on the Wukong. Red secured by developers. Vulcan was holding, waiting for a chance to get this red, but the Wukong actually blinked and caught Tiger Stun on the turret. A little unfortunate for him. I don't know if they will not be able to step up and grab red. Red will expire. For the second time tonight, We are seeing a breastplate of regrowth for that movement speed. A little bit of kite potential. It's going to be a bull angle here. Cabrakan already pathing over. Just going to be asking for a Vulcan turret while this Chalk Vulcan are able to poke down uMaD. Turret killed by on her. Tiger stun forward. Decent Runeforge proc. But will that cost him? Bracken going forward. Does he have the ult? They are full sending it. Jing Chen getting caught by the Vulcan ult. But on her is casting. Does he have the damage? Instead, Cabrakan drops ult. Forces the on her jump into a fire blink from the Chalk. It's on her, unfortunately, just not able to play the game with this range proc between the Vulcan and Chalk. Very, very simply reflected in the damage chart itself. Gets secured by Vulcan. The meatball backfire. Chalk now the target. Horrific dropped on the Chalk. He doesn't quite have ult. Do they have the peel, the impale, pushing Chalk away? Wukong, Tiger stunning in, but immediately you thought I was the bait or the pick that you were looking for. Instead, you got baited into a rough fight and a counter engaged by the developers, wiping 2. Now in the driver's seat, looking for a possible end. 2 members down for 30. Wukong, all that's standing between the developers and game number 1. The waves here as well. 20 seconds to their name. Cabrakan has ult. Wukong doesn't. This overextension could get him gridlocked in. He doesn't have blink to close gap either. That's his dash. He just gets ultimate, but is it really going to be enough? Looks like the call is to all in. Vulcan ult should be coming up shortly. Chalk says, I'll finish it myself. Goes for the full end with Chalk ult, able to secure it with this Jotun Glatt Shield regrowth and a GG. Developers taking game number 1. A Vulcan ult with Chef's Kiss. Yeah, catching the Jing Chen. That's crazy. Crazy. It was definitely like maybe a moment where they could have killed with the Chalk, but just misplay after misplay turns into a counter engage. It's just rough when you're backpedaling a Vulcan with a turret meatball. Does not feel great. This is insane, by the way. Like, one of them is the combined 2, but both of these putting out these numbers is just, you don't get to play the game. A lot more squishy, so there's a lot more high execution to it. Versus I can beat my head against the keyboard as a warrior and do an absurd amount. Not trying to call anybody out with that one. But game number 2, uMaD versus Developers. And a 1-0 lead for the Developers. All right. So, double Blink Warrior. A big difference in the Runeforge for the Shiva. Versus, I'm assuming it's going to be a Glatt Shield for the Achilles. I agree there, Snooze Fest a fair amount of time. Better than a triple tank, which would genuinely put me to sleep, so I'm glad we made that slight adjustment. I do think this is interesting. This Cerberus didn't go a T1, instead felt it necessary to go into this Health Chalice, trying to find that value or go for some early damage / fight potential. I do love this draft for uMaD. This knockup immunity and this Chiron and range onto this Uller with this dive could really turn a fight. Right here, uMaD gaining purple pressure. A little bit of a start in their favor. Chiron does do some silly things here. Especially when the Uller wants to be a single target in the Axe Auto Tech 1-3. Or 3-1, excuse me. But regardless, if he's able to cleanse that and someone can sidestep that cast, this is going to get really rough for developers trying to find some real pressure. I am interested to see Dev on this Uller. I haven't seen him a ton on ADCs, but it'll be fun to watch how that actually works. How they're able to play that out. They're able to find some cast on this Achilles. This could be a big start to what they've been looking for. And immediately a triple ult from the Cerberus just to create some separation. So ult for all ultimately. No, I did not mean to choose that. It would be 3 tanks for sure. That is a Chiron Beads. Some really good, decent pressure from this double front line from developers. And a back stopped by this Uller. Does secure Johnson. Do they take this pressure and look for a blue invade? Do they just back up for their own? What does this look like here? Gotta give credit where credit is due. Dev is doing a number on this Uller. Especially considering Uller early is not going to feel great, but he's doing a substantial amount to keep up with an early game warrior like Shiva. Chiron goes into ult. Good Achilles blink to try to close gap, and a heavily immediately expended for the horrific. So no chase potential. They do hit the stun. Do they have the execution? They do. Able to close gap and pick up first blood. If that Cerberus doesn't hit that stun, that never, ever has that look for the Achilles to catch it and turn that damage, turn it into an execution. Really well done on the chase down by uMaD. Definitely looking a lot cleaner in game number 2 than game 1. A possible show of life could push us to game number 3. It's a little rough on Uller considering he doesn't have Transcendence. I'm assuming this should be it right here. So he's sending that back. That should ultimately mean purple goes toward uMaD here. Instead, it's just a warrior via warrior. Johnson spawning in the middle. Achilles able to steal it away from the Shiva. Given this pressure that they have now on the Shiva, that should result in red buff here for uMaD. So purple and red both swinging that way. And first blood. This lead is starting. Are they able to continue that and snowball? Ooh. Serb ulting the Shiva in CCU and Dash. However, it's irrelevant if you have a Chiron who's able to cast from that range. Able to pick up the kill onto this Shiva. Red going to uMaD here. Both neutrals, 2 kills. Chiron definitely feeling confident enough just to throw a dash in front of the Bacchus Uller. A mystical mail, first item for the Cerberus. Imagine Dragons, we're back. Interesting. Glat into Runeforge. Runeforge into Glat. No difference. So all alts are going to be up here momentarily. There's nothing really neutral buffs to fight over outside of a possible blue buff invade. Developers pulling on blue serve. Feeling confident enough to jump in. Do they steal? They don't. Developers able to secure their own. Ooh, okay. I don't mind this. uMaD are actually the aggressors. They're pulling bull. It's almost at half health already. Serb calling out that they're going that way. That's not where they would have wanted to. Chiron dashes forward. Are they able to catch the Chester? They are able to catch the Shiva once more with this combination of Achilles Execution Chironal. Chester gets caught in the corner there. Uller just pushes wave. They are going to give bull ultimately. But this combo is only going to get stronger after Tuesday when this patch comes out. With a little bit of change where Chiron can now, doesn't have to wait for his full dash animation to go off to pop his 2. He can pop it mid-dash. Some people might think that small. It is a fairly large change for Chiron. Especially when it comes down to chase or escape potential. Red is secured by developers. The Fafnir changes, I would say that the Cthulhu changes are, I feel like, are the most substantial. Changing that Meyer cast time by 75% is absurd. That will be a big change, and he doesn't have to go through animation. But there's some really big stuff coming for next patch I'm really excited about. Regardless, in this game, we'll definitely deal with that next week. uMaD are in the driver's seat. Developers are up 1-0 in the set, but possibly being forced to a game 3 unless they're able to find a way back into this. Bacchus definitely finding some decent engage. Shiva getting the blink off. Does the damage come forth here? Uller left to his own devices with an Achilles. Now the Shiva stepping back into an Achilles loving arms. He has the execution. Does he need it? Doesn't even need it with the damage coming forth. Tower has bull wearing off, but completely irrelevant. You have the pick for 20. Able to secure T1 here. I am excited to see a fair amount of the changes come forth on Tuesday. So I genuinely think there's gonna be some things flipped around, especially with some of those changes. It's not necessarily just items with bobble and everything else, but some characterization to flip some things on its head will definitely be interesting to see how those actually play out. It is crazy when you start talking about second relics versus only level 10. Just takes to level 11. This lead isn't Mount Everest by any stretch, but definitely pretty substantial starting to really build here for uMaD. And definitely a light at the end of the tunnel for them within the set. Red spawning. Bacchus has to be careful. I was waiting to hover red, but getting hit by a 2 for slow. Shiva just placing a ward on bull. We don't have any sentries here, so developers should have awareness of when and how low bull is when it is pulled. I don't think Gulu's gonna be able to step in and steal it with a 3 unless Dev is just him. We've seen crazier things happen. It's pulled. It is on the ward, so developers are more than aware, both members here and the health bar. Achilles doing his very best to create some separation. Shiva has blink. He's waiting. uMaD. Secure it. But how does this post-fight look? You gotta be real careful. The Shiva is trying to stand in front of a Chiron Cerberus with a massive lead. And unfortunately for him, it's just not enough. Goes down for the third time this game. And a big look, uMaD, a massive sign of life in game number 2. Fighting for dear life to force us to game number 3. They're putting the damage in. You have a fair amount of archers. Achilles trying to zone this Uller from having any chance of damage. Looks like Achilles the target. Heavenly is dropped. How's this chase down look? Cleanse a little late. I don't think it really matters. You gotta be real careful. He doesn't get picked trying to create some separation. Shiva does have blink, but Serb able to blink out. They have wave pushing in here. Chiron doesn't have ult to look for a full clear. That is a massive Cerberus ult. Pulls 2 members and forces Aegis. Doesn't even matter if the Chiron hits because the other 2 will. What a huge play by Cerberus, catching a Bacchus Uller on her tower, forcing Aegis, and getting a pick onto the DPS. That should spell curtains. They just back and immediately look for push instead of the Cerberus going for red. Should allow this Uller to spawn. I don't even know what do you need to do if you're developers to get back into this? Like, I would technically say you have to get to this Chiron, but getting to this Chiron in front of this Achilles Cerberus when you just don't have that survivability just feels rough. They do need a big mistake here for a window back in, but instead they might be the ones making it. All 3 members are here. Looks like Bacchus is the target. Chiron dash. Is it even going to be relevant though? Bird spawning shortly. This wave's going to be everything. uMaD decides to stick hit with this fire wave. Our developer is going to be able to fight back. Cerberus drops ult and a Bacchus knockup immunity and Shiva and dash. Bacchus goes for a nice fire blink ult. Fortunately, is it enough for his team? They might be able to pick Cerberus in 2. How does this look after though? You got to be really conscious. This Uller doesn't have Aegis. Instead, this Achilles looking for a possible pick onto the Bacchus. Chiron goes in ult. Hits all 3. Pops the 2. The damage. This could be that moment. This could be the Achilles legacy moment of the year. Unless he just gets axed to the face. Definitely was our margin there. But Aegis was already up, or still up on the Shiva, and Aegis was coming up for the Uller, though. Ooh, it's a 1v1 I wasn't expecting to have happen. Chiron doesn't have ult here. This is a risky red buff to fight over. Bacchus is the target. It's an horrific drop. A good knockup immunity from the burp. This Bacchus playing that well. Bulls pulled. Is this that all-in call that we're looking for? Chiron does have ult. Dashes in, goes for the ultimate, surely. More than enough on that reset. And a game 2 victory to uMaD, pushing it to game number 3. uMaD saying they're not going down without a fight. We've had several game 3s. This is good. What's up? Love breaking guard. Yeah, Beretta, I appreciate the follow. Welcome on from the BBC. Yeah, they do be like that. Guardians are gonna be double guard. This is a Natalie favorite. That's what this is. Not Imagine Dragons. That's a good observation, Taylor. God, you're just so smart, bro. How goes the day? It's good. We're in set number 3, game number 3 for this week, or for today, I should say. Should hire you, then I'd have to fire you. I think you'd be a good butler for a day or two, and then lose interest. I have a weird feeling that's how that would go. Honestly, what I want to see from developers is just ban the Chiron. Ban the Chiron. uMaD respect ban the Vulcan. It worked out for them. That Chiron is doing way too much. That range damage, the slows, the versatility he was able to use to get away from the Shiva, the knockup immunity is dash. It's a lot. You'd never fire T1 just because you'd never show up to work. I wouldn't have to fire you if you never show. It's like you never showed to Worlds, you know? I'm for it. Yeah, that's true. That's why he does Sanchez. This is a lot of respect. Banned double mage, especially in a meta where mages have been talked about like, oh, this is feel great in Joust. A Vulcan Thoth banned out here by uMaD toward the developers, more predominantly toward dev. I wonder if that's going to leave the Osiris open, if that's how that's actually going to look. Or how will they elect to draft against it? In answer, Sen, to what you were saying earlier with this Morgan Cthulhu, I'm not excited about that at all. Hope we never have to see that, but I have a weird feeling we will. I do like listen, at the end of the day, I think some of the changes will be unique and fun, and I don't want to say it's really revitalized my one because there's a lot of other issues, but those are some cheeky changes where it's like, hey, what you know, there's going to be some variances to it. Cthulhu, Chiron, Vulcan, Odin with the double proc for the stun now. Like, there's some quality of life changes that they're making, which I'm happy about. So I think it's good overall. I'm happy with it. And I do think some of it will actually affect Joust drafting, especially. When you start talking about the next section they're still in league play for 3 more weeks, but start talking about these playoffs and then not so distant future anymore, what that might look like. You definitely have to pay attention to what those drafts and some of the edits that are going to change. And will that actually change the meta? All that being said, they won in game number 2. The Cerberus Achilles being ran back. I'm assuming immediately this could be a Chiron ban. If this isn't a Chiron ban in 4th slot, I don't want to say I'm going to be upset about it. I'm not thrilled about it. I do agree, Beretta. This next patch, I think it's the one of the. I will say this. Next patch is probably the most excited I've been about a patch in a while because they're making changes. They're making like, I don't want to say bad shit, like just changes. Like they're making stuff like, hey, you have to read it, you have to recognize it, you have to relearn some stuff. That's the fun part, keeping it ever changing as long as it's not like busted where it feels unplayable to play the game. But some changes of quality of life are always good. So a little new, fresh outlook, especially mid-season is always nice. I would like to see a DPS pick here by developers and immediately go into a Chiron ban 4th. Take that away because it looks like they're trying to run that comp back, force them onto something different, maybe not as comfortable. That's going to be able to match this range poke that you could possibly draft from developers. Running back game number 1, that's what really worked out between the Vulcan, Chalk. You poke them out, make this DPS for uMaD feel uncomfortable where they can't actually step up and cast as well. You just win the game, right? Instead, it looks like an on her pickup into this double front. I mean, I'm making the assumption it's going to be this like Uller Chiron ban for developers, and it's funny that it was immediately the Uller, especially because you're not going the range yourself. Weirdly enough, I get really down with this song. And there's a Chiron. Okay, so the bans I'm cool with. That did it really well. They recognized some of the adjustments they needed to make for developers. They're definitely adjusting as these games go on. The same concept goes for uMaD. Both these teams are adjusting to each other throughout this set, which speaks obviously to their game style, what they're playing, and how they're learning throughout it. The Amaterasu ban, obviously, again, we start talking about finding a third pick. When you're going Warrior, more often than not, you're going to try to lean toward that auto attacker in case your ADC does die. Making sure that you have some win potential in the 2v2, if not going for an objective. So I don't mind that at all. Instead, a double guard being elected to go for this developers. I'm very interested, going back in the conversation we've had almost for a week now, especially since the gem got buffed. Do these guards actually go Axe? Do they go gem? And what that might look like. But regardless, game number 3, developers versus uMaD, a 1-1 in the set. Both of them fighting for position within the league standings. And a possible chance to go to the upper division playoff versus the lower one. A hard path versus a possible easy to win some good cash at the end. Hold on. Is that what I think it is? We haven't seen this in a while. Oh, boys, we see a spicy invade. uMaD getting a little spice with it. We haven't seen an invade, and I feel like a hot second, and I appreciate a little variety and a successful invade at that. Damn, Dev is getting outplayed. Out fucking played, chat. But an invade here for uMaD, a successful one of that. Definitely not something to scoff at. Real men invade yellow is a wild statement. It's true, we just start fight at yellow pre-game, 100%. We say... You just say, I'm bigger, I'm better, and I'll come to you. Regardless, going into wave number 2, we start talking about relics here. That is a Blink Achilles yet again. Is he going to find that value? You're fighting into 3 archers. This isn't going to feel super comfortable. Instead, the Hou finds that double bounce. Purple being hovered here. I really wish they made Joust a little bit more spectator-friendly. The Hou gets his bead forced. A really good start to that fight, but instead getting turned back around in an Aegis by the Cabrakan. Hou was checking for the bounce for this Cabrakan. It should result in the purple. So double relic, ultimately going to come to a net win here for uMaD, resulting in purple. It's a small one, though, because you start talking about how Hou doesn't have beads, this 140. If it is punished, could be invaluable. Bracken the target. A little bit of disconnect. Serb does find the ult, but doesn't have jump now himself. Gets picked, and first blood goes to Developers. Jing just trying to use those wide hips to body block the OE. Red is pulled. Jing trying to find some separation. Gets a nice one across both members. Developers are able to secure red. Are they able to dash the dash? They do. Jing throws back that Hou. Just like I said, they were able to find the value with this Hou beats being down. What was a small net win for uMaD turned into being punishing. You get purple buff, but we get 2 and red. You were more than happy with that as Developers. And a big win for them. A big spike. That is 3 minutes in and 1,000. You're going to take that and run with it. Chesters are spawned. Definitely should be a back off. Get blue. Look for this item spikes. Full thieves for both guards. I've been loving to see this a lot more. The utility of this proximity ward. Especially for these guards that, hey, I might not be able to close gap fast enough. A nice engager fight, recognizing that proximity ward value. Definitely being brought to attention more. So first item spikes across the board here for the Developers. uMaD just getting 1 online. I would like to note, we've seen 2 games out of this set. Dev really did make the shift to ADC. Oh my goodness. Dev's just better than everybody at every roll. Fuck. One day, I'll aspire. This is a small change, but you don't have Thebes yet for this Cerberus. I love this focus. Yeah, good by the Jing not to immediately go into ult. Just serve just ult in response, so good recognition. However, heavily dropped. Purple spawning shortly. Jing's backing. Steady stays. True. That is extremely true, Goose. That's what grown men do, for sure. Red and purple both up. I'm assuming this is going to turn into you get 1 buff, we get 1 buff. Instead, uMaD positioning all 3 here for this red. Developer is going, hey, can we shift quick enough to try to get purple? But Achilles is here. Cerberus is wrapping. You got to be real careful. They're able to secure the purple, but forced to beats directly after this. Bracken live. Horrific's dropped. He is able to walk away with his life. A really good peel by the Jing Shen. Honor doesn't have Aegis, but a really good pillar by him to try to slow down the chase potential by uMaD. Take a look at leveling orders here. So relics, just you're not looking to take these engages. If you're developers, you're trying to farm up, looking for these second item spikes, waiting for these relics to come online. Definitely don't want to fight into uMaD with this lead. No need to throw it. No neutral buffs are up. So playing it slow. You know, if this was Swagmaster Flexes on her, that would have been an immediate jump in there like we saw. Never going to forget that spiciness, but a Surball immediately into a Jing channel. They really good engage by Devvolopers, recognizing, waiting for that post jump. Had Bracken all on her, all waiting. Are they able to find enough damage? They do. That is insane on her. Feeling comfortable enough to send that. How does this look with the Hou Yi? Looks for it. Good positioning by the rest of the team to make this Hou Yi feel uncomfortable, trying to go for that full send. .301 on her. Red is pulled by the Hou Yi. Ooh, should not have the camera that low. Did Jing just steal that? Jing breath. Built different. Somebody give that man some toothpaste. Etherish securing red buff. Stealing it, excuse me, from this Hou Yi. Purple now going toward Devvolopers as well. I wonder if there's going to be a bull pull. It is not. The Unurge is pathing around. Definitely waiting for second relic spikes before they are looking for it. You are 4-0. There's no need to really throw this to... Hou Yi is at speed. Both neutrals are down. Johnson dropping shortly. Just waiting for second relics. You got it on her. These two waiting to tick over here. Not quite. That's interesting. Pride win Oboe. Johnson being pulled by the Yi. Bracken trying to close by half. Waiting for a little bit of anything or setup originally. Instead, most of this is just poke, jockeying for position. But both these guards just hit level 12 for second relics. I'm happy to send a back. Good Surball immediately forces on her beads, and Jing Shen not able to connect to try to pull one of those frontliners back to tower. Red's up. Should be a position toward red here. Bracken went Sunder for second relic. So possible big engage here. Sunder's using the on her, or on the Achilles, excuse me. But red was secured by uMaD. It's a little unfortunate there. You get the poke out on Achilles, but what's the real value received off of it? That makes more sense. Purple spawning shortly. They weren't able to connect onto this Yi, but they do force his beads. It's a big net win considering the Jing Shen ult's coming up shortly. Cerberus back stopped. Jing just trying to mess with this Hou Yi pulling blue buff. Possible invade in order. Cerberus pathing in from base. So Hou Yi ult. Impale just pushed it off to the side, but an Achilles ult for Jing ult. Definitely take that. Considering you have a lot more survivability now. There's an oboe third item. I would have... I feel like I would have rather see Kins because the value there on damage is kind of insane. But obviously the oboe clear is going to be a big portion. It's a big wrap here by Cabrakan. Does he find real value from it? They re-engage. You gotta be real careful here. Cerberus getting chunked out by this on her. Achilles does have Blink. How we doing, Michelle? Cerberus, now the target. There's the ult. Do they find the damage they do on her? Able to ult back through. A big pick. This was just Blade, so it was just there was 2 sets of 10. This was the second one. Game number 3, 1-1 in the set. Ooh. The on her finds 3 stray autos, catching the Hou Yi. That's a massive pick, down for 40, and you have a wave here that could result in bull, or excuse me, in bird. You get T1 easily. Achilles just backing. That should be easily bird. Serve still down for 6. Achilles gets the blink off. Last good Aegis. I say easily, but apparently this Achilles blink able to do a substantial portion. Jing do his very best to buy time. Ooh. The backstop was not it. That's really awkward. So while we weren't able to get Bird due to the Achilles blink, the execution threat, that Runeforge proc going brazy, they were able to find the Cabrakan on their re-engage slash chase. Serb able to catch Hou Yi on the red. So we get T1, we got the 2 picks. Immediately lost on their own. This Yi is level 15, a level and a half down from a 501 on her in Dev. It's a full oboe. So a full item versus a T1 being the difference. Runeforge proc is doing silly numbers this Cabrakan. Sunder hitting both. This on her is here. It's a really big stun by the Cerberus on the on her post dash versus Beads. Do they have the damage? The Cabrakan goes down. This on her is chunking back through. Does he find the return? Jing 1 does. The ADC 1v1. A beautiful dash away should result in the end of what we know is a full set. The Jing gonna just chase this down. And a triple kill for Jing Shen. A full wave, 20 seconds on the Cerberus, and only a bird standing between them and the Titan. 15 seconds, and surely more than enough damage from the developers. Looking for a closeout and a 2-1 set between uMaD and Dev. A GG taking it home for the end of the night. Crazy. So crazy, it just might work. Show you stats.